following program is furnished by The Truth About Your Future, LLC. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of this station. This information is education and not financial advice. Sponsors of the program pay a fee to be interviewed. See the truthayf.com disclosure page for details. Consult a financial advisor before investing.
The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman is brought to you by Global X ETFs, dedicated to providing investors with unexplored and intelligent solutions. And by Bitwise, a trusted guide in crypto has never mattered more. Connect with their dedicated team of crypto experts nationwide at bitwiseinvestments.com. And by Invesco QQQ, a fund that allows you to access the innovators of the NASDAQ 100, Invesco.com. And by Edelman Financial Engines. Rick Edelman is a board member, consultant, shareholder, and client of EFE, but EFE is unaffiliated and has no say over the content of The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman.
This is where technology, innovation, and personal finance come together.
This is The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman.
And now your host, Rick Edelman.
Welcome to the program. Here's what's happening on the show today. More on the president's plan for student debt. Bob Pisani, the senior markets correspondent for CNBC, who's just written a new book, Shut Up and Keep Talking. Guess who's building a new 590-foot dam? Serena Williams has a message for all of us. And this week's Health and Wellness segment by my wife, Jean Edelman. Recently, you heard me talk about the president's student loan proposal, and you know that I strongly oppose the president's debt forgiveness plan. It's unfair to those who repaid their debt. It's unfair to those who paid cash to go to college. It's unfair to those who borrowed in a different way, like getting a mortgage. It's unfair to those who didn't go to college because they thought they couldn't afford to. It's unfair to those who went to college, but to their second choice school because they were trying to save money. It's unfair, 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 and unfair. But all that said, there's no question that too many people owe too much money to student loans. And this dilemma is creating too much of a burden on them as well as on our society overall and our economy. So there's no question we do need to fix this situation. We do need to take action. But the loan forgiveness program proposed by the president isn't the right way to go about it. Loan forgiveness should be offered, but for far fewer people, not 43 million who earn as much as $250,000 a year. The president should forgive student debt, yeah, but for people who only dropped out after their first year of college. These people typically borrowed less than 10 grand, and they realized pretty quick that they never should have gone to college in the first place. They went because the system manipulated them into going. Parents, guidance counselors, friends, all of society pretty much says you need to go to college, and so they did. They went. They were told they could just sign some papers. Don't worry about paying off the loans. You'll learn so much when you graduate, you'll be able to pay it back later. And besides, you won't owe any payments for the first 6 months after you graduate. But the students who dropped out as freshmen, well, they realized pretty quick they made a bad decision in going to college, so they fixed it. They stopped the bleeding. They dropped out of school. They stopped making their bad situation even worse. But they're still stuck with the debt that they got. Debt they didn't want, debt they didn't ask for, debt that they got only because the system encouraged them to get the debt. These folks got literally nothing from their college experience, and they've been harmed by having to still pay off this debt. So, okay, let's forgive them and let's forgive that debt. These are the people who really need forgiveness. And that's a small fraction of the 43 million who are going to benefit from the president's plan. And it's a lot less than $10,000 per person on average. So forgiveness? Sure, but only for the people who really need it. Second, the president's proposal doesn't solve the problem. Right now, the total amount of student debt is $1.6 trillion. The president's plan is going to cut it to $1.2 trillion. But 4 years from now, it'll be right back to 1.6 because today's incoming freshmen are getting just as much in loans as the students of the past. So in 4 years, we'll be right back where we are now. Are we going to do another round of loan forgiveness every 4 years? President Biden's plan does nothing to solve the real problem. And that's the fact that the cost of college is simply too high. That's the problem. College costs are high because schools admit students and they award the loans. But the loans are provided by the government. And the government, the taxpayer really, we're the ones stuck with the bill if the student doesn't pay back the loan. With the current system, colleges know that the more students they admit and the more money they charge, the more money they make. So colleges simply admit more students every year. They raise their prices every year, far more than the overall inflation rate. And this forces all those kids to borrow more and more money. Read my book, The Truth About Your Future, and you'll see that this is why we now have colleges that have gone crazy to attract more and more students. Some have a director of wow. Some offer concierge services. There are colleges that offer lazy rivers, 100,000-seat stadiums, free laundry services, and other luxuries that have nothing to do with improving knowledge or preparing students for life as an adult. College has largely become nothing more than camp, and the president's plan does not fix this. We need a proposal that does, that changes the entire higher education system. The government has to reduce the amount of money it'll provide to each student. That will force colleges to lower their tuition. And colleges should be on the hook for loan defaults. Why make the taxpayer pay? The college admitted the student without any regard as to whether the student would be likely to graduate, without any regard as to whether the student would be earning enough to be able to repay the loan. Right now, colleges don't care if students default. So let's make them responsible. Let's make them accountable. And you'll see an immediate change in the number of students they accept, the majors that they offer those students, the fees that they charge, and the amount of money that they'll let those students borrow. All this will force colleges to reduce the cost of getting a degree. And in the end, that'll let more students get one. And they'll graduate with less debt. The students will win, society will win, the economy will win. What we don't need is the president's plan, because his plan is nothing more than a ploy to buy votes right before an election. Oh, and by the way, I'm not done with my rant. 3 other things about college and student debt. First, student debt forgiveness is not taxable through 2025. You see, normally, this is a big deal. Normally, when you borrow money, that loan you receive is not income. I mean, think about this. Anytime anybody gives anybody else money, taxes are involved. If you are dealing with a gift that you receive, someone's got to pay a tax on the gift. In our laws, the giver of the gift. Inheritances, there could be an inheritance tax or an estate tax. Income, if a company pays you income, you have an income tax. There are taxes involved in the transference of money from one to another. But when you borrow money, there is no tax implication because you have to pay it back. But if you suddenly don't pay it back, tax law says that the loan, which wasn't taxable, now is taxable income. So if you are forgiven a loan, you don't have to pay it back? The IRS says, well, you don't have to pay the loan back, but the money you're not paying back is considered taxable income. But not where student debt is concerned. In 2021, Congress passed a law that specifically exempted student loans that are forgiven through 2025. So the forgiveness, let's say you get 10 grand forgiven. Ordinarily, that would mean you have 10 grand in income and you could owe 3 grand in taxes. But no, that's not the case due to this law. However, some states are taxing it. North Carolina and Mississippi, for example, and others are considering legislation as well. So depending on the state you live in, you might owe state income taxes on the loan forgiveness that you're benefiting from. Second, the Federal Reserve does an annual survey called the Survey of Household Economics and Decision Making. This new survey just came out, and check this out. 40% of adults regret their college major. Nearly half who got a humanities and arts degree regret it, compared to only 24% of engineering majors. History majors can expect to earn $3.4 million over the course of their careers. That sounds pretty good. I get a college degree in history, I make $3.4 million over the next 40 years. But economics majors, biology majors, chemistry majors, they don't make $3.4 million, they make $4.6 million. And all of them paid the same for the degree. Why would you go pay for a car and end up with an inferior car. Give me the best car I can get for the money I'm paying. And 15% of student loans are held by people with no degree at all. So we need to recognize that this data is all supporting the reasons why we need massive reform of college, not for mere forgiveness of student debt. And third, are you sure that a college degree will indeed give you a great job and a high salary? Well, that could be an assumption that, although it's been true over the past 50 years, don't be so sure that that college degree is going to give you a great job and a high salary over the next 50 years. The reason? Remote working. You know, we had an environment in this country where we had blue-collar jobs. That got crushed in the United States by globalization. When companies started offshoring jobs, manufacturing jobs went to China. Now, white-collar jobs are at risk because COVID showed employers they don't need offices anymore. They're letting workers work remotely. So why not go really remote? Why not hire smart people from India? They cost a lot less than somebody living in San Francisco. Richard Baldwin, he's an economist at the Graduate Institute in Geneva, and he said, quote, "If you can do your job from home, be scared. Be very scared." That's because, he says, companies are already turning employees into independent contractors, a 56% increase since 2019, before the pandemic. The Department of Labor has data that shows that the more a job pays, the easier it is for that job to be done remotely. The highest paying industries are software and internet publishing. They've got the highest share of remote workers. The lowest paying jobs, like the person working at a gas station, that's the least likely to be done remotely. So even though we've got a lot of blue-collar industries like manufacturing or construction that can be outsourced, guess what else can be outsourced? Marketing, accounting, finance, sales, and IT. You need to think about whether or not your college degree with this spend whatever it takes attitude is a smart decision in an increasingly technological and remote working world. I'm Rick Edelman, and I might well be telling you the truth about your future. Coming up next, Serena Williams has a message for all of us.
When your health diagnosis isn't going according to plan, you likely seek a second opinion. It's time you treat your wealth the same way. Get a new perspective, new information, a new diagnosis for your investments. Get a second opinion from a wealth planner at Edelman Financial Engines. Our dedicated planners offer personalized advice and are ready to talk one-on-one. Our approach is backed by institutional rigor. We model over 38,000 securities monthly, so we can better stress test your portfolio through thousands of scenarios. So, take a deep breath and take care of your wealth like you take care of your health. Get your complimentary wealth checkup today, where you can discuss your financial plan with a wealth planner. Call Edelman Financial Engines at 888-899-4450. That's 888-899-4450. Or visit planefe.com/Rick today.
The Truth About Your Future is sponsored by Global X ETFs. You tune in every week to hear Rick Edelman tackle the personal finance topics that matter most to investors. And this year, what matters most is market volatility, stubbornly high inflation, and rising interest rates. It's been a lot to grapple with. At Global X ETFs, our income-oriented strategies can be an appealing way to help you position your portfolio during this period of uncertainty and volatility. Our approach goes beyond bonds and traditional fixed income investments. We focus instead on asset classes that offer you income-producing potential that you may not have considered, including MLPs from the energy sector, real estate investment trusts, preferred stocks, covered call strategies, and dividend-paying stocks. We've been providing investors like you with income-oriented investments like these for more than a decade through both bull and bear markets. Come, explore our full range of ETFs and look at our research and more at globalxetfs.com or talk with your financial advisor. Global X ETFs.
You're listening to The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman. Thanks for listening to today's show, and thanks to Bitwise Asset Management for being our sponsor. Rick asked Bitwise to support the show because Bitwise has just one mission: to help you understand and access the opportunities in crypto. As crypto continues to grow in scale and complexity, a trusted guide is more important than ever. That's why Bitwise has built a nationwide team of crypto experts to help you. So take advantage of Bitwise's team. They work closely with financial advisors, institutions, and individual investors just like you. Talk to a Bitwise expert today or sharpen your crypto knowledge with Bitwise's awesome library of content. You'll find great help whether you're a crypto beginner or a financial professional. Crypto has major risks to consider, including the loss of your entire investment. So before investing in crypto funds, visit bitwiseinvestments.com for their library of content and to learn about the risks with these investments. That's bitwiseinvestments.com.
Welcome back to The Truth About Your Future. You know, one of the things that we all kind of face with hesitation is our retirement. I mean, sure, we're going to age, we're going to eventually leave our job. It might be voluntary. On the other hand, it may be forced. Either way, we're facing one of the most radical lifestyle changes of our entire lives. I mean, think back to the last time you had such a radical change in lifestyle. Getting married certainly was one. Moving to a new home, that's a biggie. Having children, for sure. Getting a new job, that was a big one. But when's the last time any of those happened? Maybe decades ago. Well, now you're on the cusp of facing another lifestyle change, leaving your employment. And some folks enter this with the attitude of saying, my goodness, the best years of my life are behind me. I'm looking at a void. I'm looking at loss. What does this mean for my future? Is life over? And what am I going to be facing? Well, I've got two stories for you to demonstrate that life is just beginning as you age. Our first story comes from Stephen Alker. You may know of him if you're a golf fan. He also ran on the pro golf circuit during his career, multi-decades. He barely made enough money as a golfer to support his family. I mean, we're always hearing about the super talented and the championship winning golf pros, but those are, that's just the numbers 1 and 2 and 3. What about the other 50 or 100 or 200 or 500 golf pros you never hear of and don't know their names? Steve was one of them. But this year, he turned 50. Now, ordinarily, you would say 50 years old, what a has-been. There's no way that a golfer age 50 can compete with the 20 and 30 and 40-year-olds who are in their athletic prime and who are performing at far better levels. So if he hasn't been able to make any money as a golfer in his first 50 years of life, how on earth is he going to be able to stay as a pro golfer now? Well, guess what? Turning age 50 has enabled Steve to be eligible for the Senior Pro Tour. Now he's competing only against people his age or older. He's no longer competing against 25-year-olds. He's competing against 65 and 75-year-olds. And he's now the young kid on the block. And as a result, he is skyrocketing in performance. He's made over $3.5 million in the past year. That's more than he's earned in his entire career as a pro golfer. They're calling him the Tiger Woods of geezers. He says it's, quote, a second launch and does require a mentality shift. He's acknowledging that now that he's in his 50s, it's like starting over again. He says once he turned 50, he started playing and feeling younger than he has in years. This just simply demonstrates your best times are ahead of you. And if you don't believe me about Stephen Alker, let's shift from golf to tennis. You've all heard that Serena Williams has decided to retire, one of the most successful tennis players of all time. Some argue the greatest tennis player of all time. 23 Grand Slam singles titles. She's announced her retirement. But wait a minute. Everybody is lamenting the fact that she's retiring. She's going away. She's abandoning her career. No. What Serena Williams has done has simply announced she's leaving tennis. That's it. What she's going to do now is focus on being a mother, a fashion designer and leading maker in the world of fashion, and engaging as a venture capitalist. Serena Williams is simply reinventing herself. And that is the future we all face. When you retire from your career, when you leave what you've been doing for your adult life, it isn't the end of anything. It's the beginning of what's next. So I encourage you to do what Stephen Alker and Serena Williams have done and use this opportunity as you age to reinvent yourself, become the next you, where you'll be even more successful than you were ever before. That's the truth about our future. You know what's worse than losing money in an investment? Losing money and paying taxes. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The stock market is down 25% this year. The bond market is down 15%. In December, mutual funds and ETFs are going to issue their annual capital gains distributions. If you're a financial advisor, you know that investors are going to get IRS 1099s for their taxable accounts. You're going to have to pay taxes on those investments, even though those investments lost money this year. But you can take action for your clients. You can help your clients minimize their tax bite in the next couple of months. So I'm really encouraging you, if you're a financial advisor especially, and along with also investors, to watch a new special webinar that I'm about to produce with Michael Lane of BlackRock. The webinar is going to be on this Thursday, October 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to show you how you can deal with this nasty tax surprise coming in a truly nasty year. Register for free for the special webinar on lowering your investment taxes this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can register at thetruthayf.com. That's thetruthayf.com. Stay with us for more here on The Truth About Your Future.
The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman is sponsored by Charles Schwab. Schwab's passion for serving clients is more than standard practice. It's part of who they are. With transparent pricing, 24/7 live support, and a satisfaction guarantee, the people at Schwab go the extra mile to help you on your investing journey. They're not just financial people, they're people too. Learn more at schwab.com/whyschwab. That's schwab.com/whyschwab.
Allow us to introduce you to Tom, an ordinary person who helped shape the future by putting his money behind the right ideas. Tom enjoys tending to his tomato garden and is currently developing the perfect blend for his homemade spaghetti sauce. Tom is also accessing companies that help change the course of the aerospace industry by investing in Invesco QQQ. Invesco QQQ is a fund that allows you access to innovators of the NASDAQ 100, which goes to show you don't have to be a rocket scientist to help push progress forward. Become an agent of innovation. Learn more at Invesco.com/QQQ. There are risks when investing in ETFs, including possible loss of money. ETFs' risks are similar to those of stocks. Investments in the tech sector are subject to greater risk and more volatility than more diversified investments. The NASDAQ 100 index comprises the 100 largest non-financial companies on the NASDAQ. You can't invest directly into an index. Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Visit Invesco.com for a prospectus with this information. Read it carefully before investing.
You're listening to The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman, sponsored by Choice. If you want more control over how you invest your money, you need to check out Choice. Choice makes it easy for you to invest in Bitcoin and other crypto assets in your retirement account. You can transfer your existing IRA, roll over an old 401k, or start fresh with a new investment. There are no hidden fees or account minimums, just more choice in how you invest your money. You can open a deductible or Roth IRA and invest in Bitcoin, crypto, stocks, ETFs, gold, real estate, and more, all in a single account. Don't let your old bank or brokerage firm limit what you're allowed to invest in. Do what Rick did and take control of your future by heading on over to retirewithchoice.com/Rick. That's retirewithchoice.com/Rick, or simply search Choice IRA in the App Store or Google Play Store on your iPhone or Android device. It's your money. It should be your choice. retirewithchoice.com/Rick.
You're listening to The Truth About Your Future. I'm really excited to bring on a very special guest to the program, my good friend Bob Pisani. You know him well. He's the senior markets correspondent for CNBC, and he's just written a brand new book, Shut Up and Keep Talking: Lessons on Life and Investing from the Floor of the New York Stock Exchange. The book is out October 18th. You can buy it right now on Amazon. Bob, welcome to the program. Great to have you.
Rick, thanks so much. You've been a great inspiration for many years and a good friend. I'm really excited to be on the show with you.
Well, in case somehow you've been under a rock for the past 25 years, Bob has covered Wall Street and the stock market now for 25 years. Bob has met and interviewed virtually everybody: Robert Downey Jr., Walter Cronkite, Aretha Franklin, Barry Manilow, Jerry Ramone, Alibaba chairman Jack Ma, who, by the way, launched the biggest IPO in history. Bob's been on the front lines for every financial event of the past quarter century, from the Asian financial crisis of 97 to the dot-com bubble through 9/11, the credit crisis of 08, and of course, COVID. Bob's seen how the investment world's changed from brokers shouting on the floor of the NYSE to fully electronic trading, the battle between stock-picking superstars and low-cost index funds, the emergence of behavioral finance, and so much more. So, Bob, it's really my pleasure to have you here on the show. And the roles are finally reversed. I've chatted with you so often on the floor of the NYSE for you and CNBC, and now I get to have you on my turf.
You know, it's quite funny when the tides are turned. One day in 1999, Walter Cronkite came on the floor. And for those of you who don't know, Walter Cronkite was the voice of my generation. Growing up in the 1950s and 60s, he was the number one nightly news broadcaster. It was the last month of the millennium, and he came on the floor, and I ran up to him. I was so excited to meet him. Walter Cronkite, my hero. I wanted to be a journalist because of you, and I'm just so happy to meet you. And he looked at me and he said, you know, I'll tell you something that's amazing to me. The rise of financial journalism, and this is when CNBC was becoming very popular, the stock market was becoming very popular. He said, I find that quite amazing because back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, the stock market wasn't such a big story. Now it's a huge story, and you've got a whole TV station devoted to it. What do you think is going on? Why is the public so interested? And I'll tell you what I thought immediately. I thought, oh my God, Walter Cronkite is interviewing me. This is the coolest thing ever. My childhood idol is interviewing me. So here we are. I usually interview you, Rick, and now you're chatting with me.
And so I'm going to take full advantage of the opportunity, Bob. First of all, there have been, over the last 25 years, 10,000 people who have rung the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Give me some of those 10,000 people who have made a really strong impression on you.
What would you give, you people listening, what would you give to meet all your heroes? I have met most of my heroes because every day there's an opening and closing bell. This has been a tradition at the New York Stock Exchange going back to the 1860s. But beginning in the mid-1990s, the management here decided to turn it into a bit of a spectacle. They started inviting rock stars and queens and politicians, things. So, for example, Barry Manilow came down one day. He was a fan. I'm a rock guy. I collect 1960s rock posters. And he had come off an interview that he'd done with us. And I said, hello, Barry, Bob Pisani. I just want to ask you something. Did you write the famous jingle, Like a Good Neighbor, State Farm is there, the State Farm jingle? He said, you know, I did. I was a jingle writer. I wrote it. Sold it for $500. And I never regretted it, became famous, but that's what I did. But the man really impressed me. And occasionally those kinds of things happen.
And, you know, this is why I love your book so much, because it's filled with these kinds of anecdotes and stories and reminiscing of the incredible people you've met over the past 25 years. I just, a couple of weeks ago, had the opportunity to ring the bell at the NYSE. And because I'm such a big fan of what you've written, that's why I gave you a testimonial for your book. And I love the title, Shut Up and Keep Talking. Talk about what that title means.
Well, I was talking to the publisher, and he said, what do they say to you in your ear? I said, well, they can say all sorts of things, but the typical commands are to stop talking, which usually means they say rap. So that means shut up. And the other thing they usually say is don't shut up or stretch, which means keep talking. So I said, if you really want to boil it down, most of the time, the commands that you hear from the control room are either some variant of shut up and keep talking. And the publisher said, that's it. That's the title, Shut Up and Keep Talking.
Of course, you talk about what's going on in the market today. But you personally think getting in and out of the market on a daily basis is a pretty foolish long-term investment strategy.
Yeah, the problem with market timing is you have to be right going in and you have to be right going out. Your odds greatly increase that you're going to be wrong. The other thing that's a real problem is way too much trading. It increases the chances you're going to make some kind of mistake. Everyone is bad at it. Not just amateur stock pickers, professional stock pickers. The Federal Reserve is bad at forecasting. Nobody should sit there and try to think that they're going to second guess the market. That's why, after watching this for 30 years, I'm largely a long-term buy and hold Jack Bogle kind of guy, believing in the value of owning broad swaths of the market. It's about diversification and understanding what your risk parameters are.
You know, you're supposed to buy low, sell high, but everybody does the exact opposite of that. They buy high and they sell low. Your book has several chapters explaining all this. And so I think folks will be somewhat surprised to hear the way you're describing this, Bob. I think most folks would assume that you, being the guy with the pulse of Wall Street, you're literally on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. You interview all of these money managers and portfolio asset analysts and all these hedge fund managers and endowment supervisors. I mean, you're really paying attention on what the market is doing right now. And yet you're saying, I'm not trying to beat the market. I'm not trying to guess what the market's going to do next. I'm using low-cost index funds, investing in them for the long term. I think people will find that message refreshing, surprising, and accessible. And this is another one of the reasons I encourage folks to read your new book, Shut Up and Keep Talking, which comes out October 18th, and you can order now on Amazon. Talk about the day in the life of your work at CNBC. You know, you're a gatekeeper. You decide what we, the viewers, are going to get to see and hear. How do you decide what to cover every day?
It's a process of elimination. I wake up, I don't know, 5:30. I look at the S&P futures. It's a sort of simple way to look at how the day's going to go. But I do things that a lot of people do. I scan certain news sources, Wall Street Journal, the Post, the New York Times. I look at a few comments from traders. I'll make some phone calls. And you know, Rick, this is Wall Street. People talk their book all the time. Everyone's got an agenda. But there are people who you can talk to who will give you, not just know what they're talking about, but give you an honest opinion. And that's worth a lot. I've talked to you for many years. You and I tend to look at the markets and life in general in very similar ways. And I look for people who can explain things to me in a way that I think makes sense. The most important thing is when you're on in the morning, people want a quick summary of what's going on. So people want to know, what's the trend in the market? Where is it going? So you're like the weatherman for the stock market. What direction is the wind blowing? It's really the art of storytelling, Rick, and you're good at this too. I always say your job is to show how all these facts are connected, draw the lines. That's kind of a definition of what journalism is.
And so give us your final piece of advice to everybody listening. What is the advice you give to investors today?
I say, number one, I'm a capitalist. I believe in the United States as a democratic system. Because of that, I own mostly plain vanilla index funds. And I have a fairly high risk tolerance because I think I'm going to live fairly long. And to think longer, believe in medical technology, believe in technology in general. I've never had any reason to doubt that.
That's Bob Pisani, the senior markets correspondent for CNBC, here on The Truth About Your Future, and his brand new book, Shut Up and Keep Talking, Lessons on Life and Investing from the Floor of the New York Stock Exchange. You can order the book right now at Amazon, your favorite bookseller. It debuts October 18. Bob Pisani, thanks so much for joining me on the show, and I'll see you on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange before too long, my friend.
Hope to do it soon, Rick. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Bob and I actually spoke for a lot longer than you heard here on the radio. You can watch, listen, or read the entire conversation. Just visit us at thetruthayf.com. You know, if you miss part of the show, you can hear and watch the videocast. You can also watch my full-length interviews with leaders in the world of digital assets, personal finance, and technology. You'll find articles on everything from NFTs to Bitcoin backwardation. You can also watch my master classes, including The Truth About Crypto and Financial Planning in the Age of Longevity. It's all free, and it's all available to you at thetruthayf.com. That's thetruthayf.com. Stay with us for more here on The Truth About Your Future.
You're listening to The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman. Thanks for listening to today's show, and thanks to Bitwise Asset Management for being our sponsor. Rick asked Bitwise to support the show because Bitwise has just one mission: to help you understand and access the opportunities in crypto. As crypto continues to grow in scale and complexity, a trusted guide is more important than ever. That's why Bitwise has built a nationwide team of crypto experts to help you. So take advantage of Bitwise's team. They work closely with financial advisors, institutions, and individual investors just like you. Talk to a Bitwise expert today or sharpen your crypto knowledge with Bitwise's awesome library of content. You'll find great help whether you're a crypto beginner or a financial professional. Crypto has major risks to consider, including the loss of your entire investment. So before investing in crypto funds, visit bitwiseinvestments.com for their library of content and to learn about the risks with these investments. That's bitwiseinvestments.com.
What do all the greatest innovations have in common? Agents of innovation. Ordinary people who shape the future by putting their money behind the right ideas. Invesco QQQ is a fund that allows you access to innovators of the NASDAQ 100. So you don't have to be an inventor to help create what's next to come. Be an agent of innovation with Invesco QQQ. Learn more at Invesco.com/QQQ. There are risks when investing in ETFs, including possible loss of money. ETFs' risks are similar to those of stocks. Investments in the tech sector are subject to greater risk and more volatility than more diversified investments. The NASDAQ 100 Index comprises the 100 largest non-financial companies on the NASDAQ. You can't invest directly into an index. Before investing, carefully read and consider fund investment objectives, risks, charges, expenses, and more in the prospectus at Invesco.com. Invesco Distributors, Inc.
Afraid to look at your financial statements? Shredding them without opening them? It's time for a second opinion from Edelman Financial Engines. Our opinions aren't based on intuition or daily market movements. They're grounded in institutional rigor, and all of our planners are fiduciaries who put your interest above all others. So if you need help managing the ups and downs of this market, we're ready to talk. At Edelman Financial Engines, you get personalized investment recommendations from a dedicated wealth planner who doesn't sell products to earn commissions. So stop shredding those financial statements. Let's take a look together. It's time to get a second opinion. Get your complimentary wealth checkup where you can discuss your financial goals with a wealth planner. Call Edelman Financial Engines at 888-899-4450. That's 888-899-4450. Or visit planefe.com/Rick today.
I'm Rick Edelman. This is The Truth About Your Future. One of the things I like to talk to you about is, in fact, the future, being brought to us by exponential technologies, the latest innovations and advances, science and research that are bringing to us incredible innovations that are going to impact virtually every aspect of life on our planet. China is building a dam that's 590 feet tall. It'll generate 5 billion kilowatt hours of electricity every year. That's a 500 million more than the Hoover Dam. And it's being built entirely by robots. No human labor. A 3D digital model shows how much material is needed. A robot gathers the material, takes it to the right spot, and the robots do all the paving and rolling to finish each layer. With no human workers, the project is expected to be completed faster with no errors. Robots working 24/7, they'll have the job done in just 2 years. It took 5 years to build the Hoover Dam, and 96 people died during construction, from drowning, being hit by falling material, or injured when rock was dynamited. With no humans involved, safety goes up, costs go down, and the time to completion is accelerated. Robots putting a lot of people out of work. 2 cities in China have approved ride-hailing services, like Uber and Lyft. What's the big deal? These cars don't have anybody driving them, or anybody sitting where the driver ought to be sitting. An automobile that is truly autonomous. Each of these cities are going to have 5 of these cars. They're going to operate in a 5 square mile area, and you'll be able to get in an automobile that literally has no one behind the wheel. In fact, it doesn't even have a wheel. Meanwhile, the Biden administration wants 40% of all new car sales to be electric vehicles by the end of the decade. Now, to power them all, we're going to need 1 million chargers. Right now, there are only 46,000 chargers all across the country, and most of them are in California. Big problem? A survey of charging stations in San Francisco found that 23% of them don't work. Broken screens, connection failures, damaged plugs. 60% of the drivers who own electric vehicles say they've encountered non-functioning chargers. Let me ask you this. When's the last time you had a problem finding a gas station or finding a gas pump at a gas station that worked? We've got a long way to go with electric vehicle adoption. If we don't get the chargers up and running in wide availability, that's going to be a real cog that gets in the way of adoption. So this innovative technology is pretty cool, but it's going to be a while before we really get it up to par. Meanwhile, BMW is doing something unique, and I'm not sure you're going to like it. BMW, like a lot of luxury vehicles, offers car seats that are heated. Press a button, your seat warms up, and that's really terrific if it's cold outside. But BMW is now charging $18 a month for that button to operate. They're not doing this in the United States yet, but they are doing it in England, Germany, New Zealand, South Korea, and South Africa. They plan on introducing this in the U.S. soon. In other words, you're going to have a monthly subscription fee for your car, kind of like you do for Netflix. We're going to have to wait and see if consumers in the U.S. go for it or not. By the way, BMW is not alone in this idea. Tesla's mileage depends on what you pay for the car. In other words, all of the Teslas have a certain range, but the range you actually get is based on the software, not the car itself. Pay more, the car will go further. Pay less, and you'll have to charge it more often. This kind of a trend might become more and more common as automakers look to increase their profits while reducing the base price of the automobiles. You know, one of the big fears that people have is that your data will get hacked. How easy is it for hackers to access your personal information? Well, now researchers at NIST, that's the National Institute of Standards and Technology, these researchers have approved the use of mathematical equations that just might protect data from hackers. And if so, you'll see it on your electronic systems before the end of the decade. Researchers are trying to grow rice, wheat, and corn in seawater. Seaweed has the same genes as rice, wheat, and corn, but in rice, wheat, and corn, those genes are dormant. If these researchers can activate those genes, we could be growing crops in the ocean. This would be a huge step to eliminating famine and food shortage on a global basis. The innovations being created in the field of exponential technologies. I talk about all of it in my book, The Truth About Your Future. Time now for everybody's favorite segment of the program, Visit by my wife, Jean Edelman. Jean is a student of the healing arts, Reiki, traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, acupuncture, and of course, macrobiotic and plant-based cooking. Here's Jean.
Great to be with you this week. Recently, Rick and I found Turner Movie Classics, TMC. They were playing 24 hours of Cary Grant. Wow, so much fun. We recorded all of them. And so when I went back, there was this movie I'd never seen before. It was called Houseboat. I'm going to play a short clip of the movie for you. I was so moved by this one scene. Cary Grant, he's divorced from his wife and she passes away. And so he returns to raise the 3 children. And this is a scene that he is explaining life and death to his son. I hope you enjoy this scene.
Let me try to explain it to you. See this picture? Mm-hmm. Well, try to think of this picture as being me. My body, eh? Mm-hmm. Now, the picture of its own has no use at all except as a container for something. And in this case, a container for the water, which you can think of as being my life force. Now, try to lose that.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it?
That's easy.
Okay.
There.
Now? Well, the only thing is, it isn't lost. You see, it's part of the whole river. It's still in the universe. You haven't lost it. Come on, get rid of it.
Well, what about this?
What about it?
Oh, I get the idea. It'll evaporate, become a cloud, and come down someplace else as rain.
That's pretty clever of you.
I guess when you come right down to it, you can't lose anything.
That's right. Probably not even life itself. It's just that everything is constantly changing. So perhaps when our life force, our souls, leave our bodies, we go back into God's universe in the security of being part of all life again and of all nature. So for all we know, that sort of life after death may be very beautiful.
If you say so. Hey, Pop.
What?
Don't do anything beautiful for a while, will you?
I'll try not to.
And give up smoking. It's bad for older people.
Yeah.
This is such a beautiful, beautiful scene. I have never seen any person, anything describe life and death so beautifully and with so much love and compassion. And so my word this week is very simple. It's soul. S-O-U-L. The S. The S is to see how we are all connected and part of this human collective. We matter and have so much to bring to this world. So we need to see our light. We need to see our beauty. And we need to see that we never really go away. The O is for one. There is only one of us. This beautiful word, this one, it just creates unity, this one humanity, this one planet, this feeling of unity. And hopefully we all find our way to understand that as we go through our journey of life. U is for unity, this collective, being supportive. We need each other. We are not separate islands. We are all needing each other. We all have something to share. We all have something to give, and we can all support each other in some way. We are never alone. And the L is for love, to love ourselves and to love others and to see each of us as a soul that we all deserve to be here on this earth at this time. We need to stop judging, stop projecting ourselves onto others, see each other as beautiful, beautiful people with one purpose, to live a joyful, wonderful life and to contribute to this wonderful collective, this one humanity, this one earth. And so I hope you enjoy this scene. I hope that you'll play it over and over again and just to hold in your heart how beautiful it is and how we are just a wonderful humanity. Have a great week, everyone.
That's my wife, Jean Edelman, here on The Truth About Your Future. And you can actually watch Jean's Word of the Week. Watch the video at thetruthayf.com.
When I reach the other side, west of where the sun sets, where rainbows never die.
The Truth About Your Future is sponsored by Global X ETFs. You tune in every week to hear Rick Edelman tackle the personal finance topics that matter most to investors. And this year, what matters most is market volatility, stubbornly high inflation, and rising interest rates. It's been a lot to grapple with. At Global X ETFs, our income-oriented strategies can be an appealing way to help you position your portfolio during this period of uncertainty and volatility. Our approach goes beyond bonds and traditional fixed income investments. We focus instead on asset classes that offer you income-producing potential that you may not have considered, including MLPs from the energy sector, real estate investment trusts, preferred stocks, covered call strategies, and dividend-paying stocks. We've been providing investors like you with income-oriented investments like these for more than a decade through both bull and bear markets. Come, explore our full range of ETFs and look at our research and more at globalxetfs.com or talk with your financial advisor. Global X ETFs.
Did you know Schwab offers a satisfaction guarantee? If for any reason you're not completely satisfied, Schwab will refund your fee or commission and work with you to make things right. You won't find that kind of promise everywhere, but you will find it at Schwab. It's just another way that they put clients' interest at the heart of everything they do. Learn what's included and how it works at schwab.com/satisfaction. That's schwab.com/satisfaction.
Thanks for joining me on the show today. Remember, join me on this Thursday, October 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern for my special webinar on how to lower your investment taxes. Joining me is Michael Lane of BlackRock. Be sure to join us for this free event. Register at thetruth.ayf.com. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
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 I'm sorry, what? What part didn't you understand? The buh or the bye? Bye-bye.
The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman has been brought to you by Global X ETFs, dedicated to providing investors with unexplored and intelligent solutions. And by Bitwise, a trusted guide in crypto has never mattered more. Connect with their dedicated team of crypto experts nationwide at bitwiseinvestments.com. And by Invesco QQQ, a fund that allows you to access the innovators of the NASDAQ 100. Invesco.com. Stay tuned for Everyday Wealth with Soledad O'Brien and Gene Chatsky from Edelman Financial Engines. Everydaywealth.com/radio. EFE and The Truth About Your Future with Rick Edelman are unaffiliated entities.
Get the truth about your future every weekend with Rick Edelman. It's thetruthayf.com.